For over a decade, Rick Lagina has stood on the shores of Oak Island with one mission: solve the world's longest-running treasure mystery. He's battled storms, collapsing tunnels, booby-trapped shafts, and centuries of deception. Many said he was chasing a legend, but today he holds proof in his hands. In a historic development that's sending shockwaves through the archaeological world, lab tests have officially confirmed the presence of real gold beneath Oak Island. But that's not all. More than a dozen artifacts recovered from recent digs have now been authenticated, with a combined estimated value of over $105 million. Rick and his team didn't just stumble onto scraps. They may have uncovered direct evidence of a massive treasure deposit intentionally hidden and preserved beneath the island. The big questions no longer sound like fantasy. They demand answers. Who placed this gold here? Were the Templars involved? Spanish explorers? A lost royal fortune? And why build elaborate tunnels, traps, and flood systems to protect it? Rick Lagina has never been closer to the truth, and this discovery might be the turning point the world has been waiting for. Before we continue, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear could be the beginning of Oak Island's final reveal. In the war room, when the test results were revealed, Rick Lagina didn't speak at first. Marty leaned in. The room went silent. The experts laid out the findings. Traces of refined gold matched with high-purity metal particles recovered from the water table beneath the money pit. Alongside that, metallic fragments and intricately crafted relics, ornate, non-native to Nova Scotia, have been dated and valued at over $105 million. According to the lab experts, the findings tell a story that cannot be ignored. First, it's clear that this treasure wasn't stumbled upon by accident. It was carefully transported, placed, and concealed with intention. Every fragment of gold, every artifact, speaks to a deliberate act, a plan executed centuries ago with precision. But there's more. The technology used to bury and protect these treasures goes far beyond what any local settlers could have built at the time. The tunnels, chambers, and flood systems suggest a level of engineering sophistication that is almost unimaginable for that era. Whoever was behind this understood how to hide something of immense value, and they did it in a way that would withstand the tests of time, weather, and human curiosity. It's a revelation that changes everything. What was once considered myth or legend is now undeniable. The evidence proves that Oak Island wasn't just a hiding place, it was a fortress of secrets, meticulously designed to protect something extraordinary. Rick, who spent his entire life chasing this mystery, called it the most important breakthrough in Oak Island history. But the discovery isn't just about gold, it's about the truth behind it. New scans reveal cavities deeper and larger than previously recorded. And if the artifacts found so far are only fragments of a greater hoard, then Oak Island might be sitting on a hidden fortune that eclipses every treasure legend ever told. Rick Lagina's journey didn't begin with excavators, cameras, or million-dollar partnerships. It began with a magazine and a moment. As a quiet, curious young boy growing up in Kingsford, Michigan, Rick stumbled upon an article in Reader's Digest that told the strange, unfinished story of Oak Island. It spoke of a mysterious pit, unexplained tunnels, buried timbers, and legends of treasure lost to time. Most readers probably turned the page and forgot about it. But for Rick, it was different. Something inside him clicked. While other kids dreamed of sports, cars, or summer vacations, Rick found himself drawn to maps, clues, and tales of explorers. Oak Island wasn't a fantasy to him. It was a real place, hiding real answers. He held on to that spark of curiosity throughout his teenage years and well into adulthood, even when life moved on. Work, bills, responsibilities. That quiet fascination never left. Years passed, but the island remained lodged in his mind. Rick followed every newspaper mention, every rumor, every scrap of new information that surfaced over the decades. He wasn't loud about it, he wasn't dramatic, but he was certain. He believed there was truth buried beneath that ground, and he believed someone, someday, would uncover it. Then came the opportunity of a lifetime. When he and his brother Marty had the chance to purchase shares of Oak Island and join the treasure hunt, Rick didn't hesitate for a second. He wasn't chasing fame or fantasy, he was chasing an answer he'd carried since childhood. The years that followed were filled with every kind of struggle. There were promising clues that led nowhere, shafts that flooded seconds before breakthroughs, and theories that cost time and money without delivering proof. Equipment failed, experts disagreed, nature fought back with mud, storms, and ground that refused to reveal its secrets. There were nights when the crew was exhausted, frustrated, and ready to throw in the towel. But not Rick. To him, Oak Island wasn't just a project, it was a calling. He believed every plank of wood, every scrap of metal, every fragment of pottery meant something. He saw patterns where others saw coincidence. He treated every discovery, no matter how small, like it was part of a hidden message left by someone long ago. His determination infected the team. Even when the cameras weren't rolling, Rick kept digging, checking, researching, and hoping. And slowly, over time, the island started giving up pieces of its story. Coins older than the United States, wood dating back to the 1400s and 1500s, traces of human-made structures buried deep underground, artifacts from Europe, the Mediterranean, and cultures that shouldn't have been anywhere near Nova Scotia centuries ago. Every find pushed Rick's belief further into the realm of possibility, then probability, then something even bigger. And just when people outside the island started calling it luck, imagination, or a TV stunt, science stepped in to settle the argument. Because after decades of digging, doubting, and believing, the Oak Island mystery has finally collided with hard, undeniable proof, leading us straight into the biggest moment of the Lagina brothers' quest. For decades, Oak Island has been a battlefield of belief versus skepticism. Theories stacked on theories, artifacts whispered of hidden truth, and every discovery carried the same burning question: is it real or just another coincidence? But this time, there is no guesswork, no speculation, no debate. Science has spoken. It all began quietly, far from the cameras, far from the excitement of the dig sites. The team collected samples, fragments of metal, pieces of wood, buried deep below natural layers, and mysterious objects recovered from the mucky depths of the money pit and beyond. What seemed like ordinary debris to the untrained eye soon revealed something extraordinary under the lens of modern analysis. The materials were sent to a certified laboratory for metallurgical and elemental testing. Rick and Marty didn't expect miracles. They'd been disappointed too many times before. Still, there was a different energy in the air. The samples came from depths where man wasn't supposed to be in the 1600s or 1700s. They weren't found on the surface. They were hidden, placed, buried with intention. Weeks passed. The crew carried on with drilling, scanning, and theorizing. Then, on a seemingly ordinary day inside the war room, everything changed. The experts laid out the reports, page after page of data, charts, and breakdowns. The verdict was clear. The samples contained high-purity, refined gold. Gold that does not occur naturally in that soil. Not trace dust, not contamination. Refined gold that had been worked, shaped, or stored before ending up underground. And then came the second blow. Over a dozen artifacts recovered from multiple search areas, some metallic, some crafted, some made with materials not native to Nova Scotia, were authenticated and collectively valued at over $105 million. According to the lab results, these weren't random historical leftovers. These were part of an intentional deposit, transported with care, concealed with precision, and hidden using advanced engineering for their time. This wasn't driftwood. This wasn't trash washed ashore. This was evidence of planning, of wealth, of a secret someone wanted, protected for centuries. Rick Lagina, who had been calm through explosions, failures, and collapses, sat in silence as the results were read. Marty leaned in with a rare look of disbelief. Members of the team who had once used words like maybe, could, and possibly now began using words like confirmed, authentic, and significant. The lab analysts didn't stop there. They identified metallic traces, consistent with European goldwork from the late medieval to early Renaissance period. Some fragments contained alloys used in ceremonial or royal artifacts, not tools, not currency. Suddenly, theories once labeled wild no longer seemed outrageous. The Templar hypothesis, the Spanish connection, the possibility of a royal vault, a lost transport, or a sanctuary of treasure hidden far from war, theft, or conquest. And perhaps most shocking of all, the location of some of the tested material matched zones previously identified through seismic scans showing voids, tunnels, and chambers. Science had not only confirmed treasure existed, it suggested more of it might still be sealed below. With one stack of reports, the Oak Island mystery evolved from legend into documented historical reality. But if the science proves treasure is there, one question now takes the spotlight. Who put it there, and how did they engineer something this complex centuries before modern technology? That leads us directly into the next chapter. Evidence of a deliberate cache. With the lab results in hand, Rick Lagina and his team knew one thing for certain. Oak Island wasn't just a playground of legends. It was a carefully constructed vault. Every artifact, every gold fragment, and every anomaly detected in the soil told the same story. This treasure was deliberately placed, protected, and engineered to remain hidden for centuries. Scanning the island, Rick had long suspected that the money pit and surrounding tunnels weren't natural. The newest seismic and ground-penetrating radar scans confirmed it. There were structured voids, reinforced chambers, and channels designed to flood or deter intruders. This was not the work of amateur settlers. Someone with knowledge of engineering and stealth had built a sophisticated system to guard their wealth. The artifacts themselves hinted at origin stories that were as complex as the tunnels. European alloys, objects from far-flung regions, and even materials inconsistent with the 1700s North American settlements suggested that whoever hid this treasure had connections or traveled well beyond the Atlantic. The deliberate placement of gold alongside artifacts wasn't random. It was intentional, a coded signature of someone who wanted their legacy preserved, hidden, and perhaps protected from war, pirates, or political turmoil. Rick and Marty began cross-referencing historical maps, old shipping records, and obscure journals. Patterns emerged. Certain items correlated with colonial trade routes, ancient European orders, and even legends of the Templars. Each clue added weight to a single idea. The treasure wasn't just buried, it was orchestrated with purpose and foresight. But the question that now dominated the team's conversations was no longer, is it real? It was far more dangerous. How much is still out there, and how far will someone go to stop us from finding it? Every dig, every scan, every cautious step reminded them that Oak Island's mysteries were not just historical. They were alive, waiting, and potentially lethal. Rick's obsession, once personal and quiet, now had global significance. The treasure had proven itself to exist, but uncovering it would require more than determination. It would require ingenuity, courage, and a willingness to confront centuries of traps and secrets. And as the evidence piled up, the human story became just as compelling as the treasure itself. The next chapter focuses on the emotional reactions and team response, where the Lagina brothers and their crew face the reality of their discovery and the pressures of history bearing down on them. When the lab reports landed on Rick Lagina's desk, the air in the war room seemed to crackle. Years of digging, decades of obsession, and countless near misses had led to this single moment. Rick leaned back, staring at the sheets of data, the graphs, and the lab confirmations. Marty, his ever-loyal brother, hovered nearby, gripping a mug of coffee like it might anchor him to reality. At first, silence filled the room. Not disbelief. This was something deeper. This was the weight of history meeting human persistence. Slowly, the realization sank in. Oak Island's treasure was real. The fragments of refined gold, the artifacts authenticated to be worth over $105 million, the engineered tunnels, it wasn't a legend anymore, it was a living story, a puzzle decades in the making, now confirmed by science. The team erupted in a mix of relief, excitement, and awe. Members who had endured endless mud, flooded shafts, and broken equipment finally allowed themselves to celebrate, but only briefly. They knew the confirmation also meant stakes had risen exponentially. The treasure wasn't just a historical curiosity anymore, it was a tangible, valuable reality. Every dig, every map reading, every step forward now carried the weight of possibility and risk. Rick, ever the steady hand, reminded everyone of the lessons of past failures. We celebrate, yes, but cautiously. This island doesn't give its secrets easily. Marty nodded, his gaze drifting to the excavation sites visible through the foggy windows. Each shaft, each tunnel, suddenly seemed alive with promise. The reactions weren't just about treasure. They were personal. Every scar, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt was validated. The crew had invested not just labor, but belief, in a dream many outsiders dismissed. And now that belief had been vindicated. Cameras captured wide-eyed wonder, hesitant smiles, and whispered speculations about what might lie deeper, yet unseen. But beneath the excitement lay a shared understanding. Oak Island was still a mystery. The treasure confirmed was only part of the story. The engineered chambers hinted at more. The artifacts pointed to connections, histories, and intentions that were still buried. And the deeper they dug, the more dangerous and more revealing the hunt would become. With the emotional reality settling in, the team turned their focus outward, towards strategy, planning, and the ultimate stakes. That leads directly into the final chapter, the road ahead and call to action, where the future of Oak Island's greatest mystery begins to take shape, and the world is invited to watch every thrilling moment unfold. With the gold confirmed, the artifacts authenticated, and the engineered tunnels verified, the Oak Island mystery entered a new chapter, one that was as thrilling as it was daunting. Rick Lagina knew that the discovery of $105 million worth of treasure was just the beginning. The Money Pit, Smith's Cove, and the surrounding excavation zones had only begun to reveal their secrets. Maps were spread across tables, marked with notes from years of research. Scans indicated voids and chambers yet unexplored, hints of treasures still buried deeper than any team member had dared to drill. Rick's mind raced. Every artifact and every gold fragment pointed toward one undeniable truth. Oak Island was far from finished, and the main prize, whatever lay at the heart of the underground labyrinth, had yet to be uncovered. The crew, now emboldened by scientific proof, began planning their next moves with precision. New machinery, innovative drilling techniques, and careful excavation strategies would be deployed. Safety was paramount. Every shaft, every chamber could collapse or flood without warning. But the stakes were higher than ever. Every foot they dug, every corner they explored, carried the promise of rewriting history. For Rick and Marty, the mission had transformed. It wasn't just treasure hunting anymore, it was a legacy. This was their life's work validated by science and history, and the world was now watching. Every discovery, every step closer to the ultimate vault would be witnessed, dissected, and celebrated by millions of viewers. And for the audience, the invitation is clear. Follow every twist, every revelation, and every near miss. This isn't just a story of gold. It's a story of obsession, ingenuity, and human determination. The journey is far from over, and Oak Island's deepest secrets are waiting to be unearthed. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to join Rick, Marty, and the team as they dig deeper than ever before. This is history in the making, and you won't want to miss a single moment of Oak Island's greatest adventure.